Long ago in a small quiet village there lived a poor boy named Armin. He lived with his mother in a tiny broken house near the edge of the village. Every morning Armin woke up early and walked to the market to do small jobs. Sometimes he carried heavy bags for shopkeepers, sometimes he cleaned the ground in front of stores, and sometimes he helped farmers bring vegetables to the market. He worked very hard, but no matter how hard he worked his life never seemed to change. People in the village often said Armin was unlucky. They believed some people were simply born poor and would remain poor forever. Armin slowly started believing the same thing. Every evening he returned home tired and hopeless. He looked at his old clothes, his empty table, and the broken walls of his house, and he felt that his life would never become better. One cold evening while Armin was walking back home he saw an old man sitting beside the road. The man looked calm and peaceful. Armin greeted him politely. The old man smiled and asked the boy why his face looked so heavy. Armin sighed and said, "My life is difficult. I work every day but nothing changes. I think my destiny is already written." The old man listened carefully and then he said something very simple that changed Armin's life forever. He said, "Your life does not begin with money or luck, it begins with a thought." Armin looked confused. He asked, "What do you mean?" The old man smiled and said, "Every great change in the world started with a single thought. A person first changes his mind and then his life changes." Armin did not fully understand, but the words stayed in his mind. That night he lay on his small bed thinking about the old man's words. He asked himself a question: what if my life really can change? What if everything begins with one thought? The next morning Armin woke up with a new idea. He said to himself, "Maybe I am not unlucky, maybe I only need to think differently." That day when he went to the market he started observing everything more carefully. He watched how shopkeepers talked to customers, how traders calculated prices, and how farmers sold their vegetables. He realized something important: most people around him were not smarter than him, they just believed they could succeed. Weeks passed and Armin kept learning little things every day. He began helping one fruit seller more than others. The seller noticed the boy's honesty and hard work, so one day he allowed Armin to help manage the stall. Armin watched how the seller arranged fruits in a beautiful way to attract buyers. He learned how to speak politely and how to offer small discounts to keep customers happy. Slowly Armin started understanding business. After several months the fruit seller trusted him so much that he allowed Armin to sell fruits alone in the stall while he went to buy more goods. Armin worked carefully and sold more fruits than ever before. One evening the seller gave Armin a small reward and said, "You are a smart boy. If you keep thinking and learning you will go far." Armin smiled because he remembered the old man's words: it begins with a thought. With the small money he saved Armin bought a basket of fresh oranges. The next morning he stood near the road and started selling them. At first he felt nervous, but he spoke kindly to people and arranged the oranges neatly. Many travelers stopped and bought from him. That day Armin sold every orange in his basket and earned more money than he had ever earned in one day. Instead of spending the money he reinvested it and bought more fruit. Day after day his small business grew bigger. People began recognizing him as the hardworking fruit boy. Years passed and Armin eventually opened his own small shop in the market. The boy who once believed he was unlucky was now known as one of the most honest and successful traders in the village. One day while sitting in front of his shop Armin saw a tired young boy walking through the market with the same hopeless look he once had. Armin called the boy and gave him some fruit. The boy thanked him but said sadly, "My life will never change." Armin smiled gently because he had heard those same words before. He placed a hand on the boy's shoulder and said, "Listen carefully. Your life does not start with money, luck, or opportunity. It starts with a thought. Change the way you think and you will slowly change your world." The boy looked surprised but hopeful. Armin looked at the busy market around him and remembered the night when one simple idea had entered his mind. He realized that the old man beside the road had given him the most powerful gift: not money, not food, but a new way of thinking, and that single thought had quietly transformed his entire life.